amigos de Lolos in the House. Bueno, pues aquí estamos una vez más, un videito más para el canal, una historia más, un logro más aquí en Lolos in the House. Bueno, pues hoy no vamos a trabajar. Hoy nos dirigimos a un paseo aquí en compañía de unos muy buenos amigos. Bueno, pues vamos a ir a una montaña, vamos a explorar una mina. ¿Qué era la otra? Lo que íbamos a hacer, unas grutas.
Sí, donde nacen los chupacabras.
Yo no sé, pero vamos a ir a explorar aquí a West Virginia. Nos dirigimos a West Virginia aquí en este. Ya, pero nos dirigimos. Vamos rumbo. Entonces, a rumbo. Míralo. Perdón. Hay un chascarrillo que se le salió aquí a Isain.
¿Qué pedo?
Bueno, pues aquí vamos ya en camino. Ahí adelante van nuestros buenos amigos. Y bueno, venimos aquí disfrutando de este hermoso paisaje que realmente nos regala la naturaleza. Obviamente nos estamos acabando el planeta, desgraciadamente.
Ya somos como una maldita plaga aquí en
Exacto. Nosotros mismos estamos acabando con el planeta. Entonces, bueno, pues disfrutando aquí este hermoso paisaje. Donde quiera ves verde, todo verde. Y lo que fumas es verde. No, eso no.
¡Ya nos exhibiste!
Todo salud. Pero bueno, aquí vamos. Este es el paisaje. Y bueno, pues aquí estás en el canal de Lolos in the House. Y bueno, pues gracias por suscribirse, gracias por dejarnos su like. No olviden, de verdad, no olviden dejarnos ese like, porque es bien importante para nosotros y no les cuesta nada. Es gratis el like. El like nos ayuda demasiado a nosotros en el canal para que tengamos más visualización en diferentes partes, para que lleguemos a diferentes hogares. Entonces, bueno, pues no olviden puchar esa campanita para que les notifique que hay video nuevo aquí en Lolos in the House. Bueno, pues seguimos y vamos en camino a nuestro paseo en las montañas cerca de West Virginia. Bueno, amigos de Lolos in the House, bueno, pues aquí seguimos en camino. De verdad que paisajes tan hermosos. No pueden apreciarlo muy bien, pero wow. Ahorita pasamos una curva muy peligrosa.
Esto es muy pegriloso.
Que hasta vértigo me dio. Pero la verdad es que qué paisajes. Qué hermosura de paisaje se mira aquí. Mira los pinos. Los pinos para Navidad. Aquí mucha gente viene a cortar su pino para su casita, para ponerlo en Navidad. Vienen a escoger sus pinos. Está muy padre. La verdad es que miren qué hermoso se mira. Se mira muy padre. ¿A poco no se mira muy padre esto? Mira nomás. Un buen de vegetación. Chulada de maíz prieto, dijéramos. Bueno, pues aquí es a donde vamos a ir. Cavernas. ¿Cuáles grutas ni quemes?
Huevos. Haz esta sencilla receta que es deliciosa y económica.
Estuvo cerca.
Polainas. Son unas cavernas. Venimos a unas cavernas.
¿Dónde se esconde el chapo?
Vamos a ver qué encontramos en estas cavernas. Esperemos no nos salgan los estos de la película del terror, porque yo miré una película donde se escondían en cavernas. La verdad es un poco terrorífico, y sobre todo porque en este país ya no sabes qué esperar por tanta gente que aunque se miren películas, hay películas que son basadas en los hechos reales, entonces dice uno, ¿what? Pero pues, a ver, miren qué chulo. Esto es lo que se disfruta. Parece ser que aquí nos dan un tour, desconozco, creo que te llevan, te explican dónde estás y toda esa onda. Entonces vamos a ver si podemos grabarles un poquito más a fondo. Y pues nosotros vamos a disfrutar y esperemos también disfruten con nosotros. Y no olviden dejarnos su like, suscribirse y puchar esa campanita para que les notifique que hay video nuevo en Lolo's in the House, ¿ok? Bueno, pues aquí vamos a ver qué nos espera. Estamos aquí en unas cavernas. Ahorita les digo cómo se llama el nombre del lugar, ¿ok? Bueno, pues aquí ya estamos en las cavernas. Esta es la tienda. Aquí es donde puedes encontrar todos los souvenirs y todo para poder comprar lo que tú gustes en esta tienda. Nos exigen mascarilla, pero bueno, vamos a entrar con mascarilla, no hay modo. Aquí está. Bueno, pues esto es lo que encontramos aquí en la tienda. Todo esto. Bueno, pues todo esto es lo que encontramos en esta tienda aquí en las Caverns, cerca de West Virginia.
¿Tu debilidad?
Los doggies. Encontramos en esta tienda. Me imagino que esto lo hacen con la piedra que encuentran aquí. Realmente es muy padre todo esto. Entonces, bueno, vamos a ver. Miren estas copas, qué chulas copas. Miren nomás. Miren esta piedra hermosa.
Está bien perroncísima.
Wow.
No, dice. Así. 795. No, sí,
$800 esta piedra. Lo equivalente en pesos mexicanos, ¿se cuánto?
¿Para cómo de esto?
No, 16,000.
como 17.
Sí, ¿no?
17,000.
$17,000 esta piedra. Está preciosa. Pesos. It's confused for me. Todo esto pienso que lo hacen con lo que encuentran aquí, ¿no, Isain?
Sí,
Con las piedras que encuentran aquí.
Adentro.
Yeah. Todo esto está chulo. Bueno, pues aquí no pueden faltar los souvenirs, ya saben, en las tiendas. Este ajedrez está chulo. Miren esta piedra. Thank you.
Gracias.
Bueno,
Son
pues,
$3.
vamos a entrar.
Paquetitos, un café con un feo.
¿Qué?
Con un feo. Oh, sí.
Mira nomás.
Está bonita.
Están bonitas.
Caníbales.
Bueno, pues aquí seguimos. Vamos a entrar a la caverna. Bueno, pues yo supongo que aquí esto lo han encontrado, aquí en estas cavernas. Entonces, pues, miren. Está chido. Bueno, pues vamos a ver qué encontramos. Aquí seguimos.
Digo que no puedes tocar nada de los lados. No. Yo ya me quería colgar yo de la piedra.
Alrighty. Welcome to the inside of Humpback Mountain. First thing you guys might have noticed, it's a little bit chilly in here. It naturally stays a solid 52 degrees year round, no matter what season it is. We also have some of our trout swimming around. We have our brown, speckled, and rainbow trout. These guys are partially to mostly blind due to living most of their life in total darkness. However, they're still pretty important to us. They led to the discovery of this cavern back in 1822. There were a couple local fishermen fishing in that stream down by where you guys came in. They noticed some trout coming in and out of a hole in our mountain. Figured there had to be some sort of ecosystem or something down here. And once they followed them in, they discovered our lovely caverns. We're going to keep on heading right this way. If my calls are correct, just watch those heads on these little hanging rocks here. Parts of our tour today where not everyone's going to see everything right when I'm describing it. I'm just going to be as descriptive as I can so you guys can check it out on our way through. Just a reminder to stay tight together as a group, but I'll still walk slow so you have time to check everything out. But our caverns are composed of 3 levels. Right now we are on our main level. Below us is that lower level which is completely full of water, and then above us we have some of our upper levels. I have a pretty good example of one of those upper levels up here on your left. This is known as our ballroom, and that's because that surface is so flat you can practically dance on it. Way back in that room above, it's about 6 or 7 feet tall, so the average person could stand pretty comfortably. However, once you check out that floor below, especially in the back there, it's only a couple inches deep, so you won't be standing comfortably for very long. Also up above that to its left, we have one of our many natural formations. This is known as our alligator formation. You can see his snout with his teeth on the left there, his beady little eyes in the middle, and then his back going down to the right. I like to call him our crocodile, but he's just one of our many natural formations down in these caverns. Before we move on, I'm going to have us shift on over to that left-hand side. There's a lot of low-hanging rocks on our right, and that's where I'm just going to anyone hit their head. So y'all stay on your left with me. I'll keep walking slow so everyone has time to check that out. The right-hand wall, my friends up front, you can stop right about here. Alrighty. So along with our trout, we have plenty of other critters living down here with us. We have our cave spiders, crickets, salamanders, crawdads, centipedes, and of course our bats. We have 2 species of bats known to hibernate with us from October to April, so no bats today. But those 2 species are our brown and our tricolor bats. Before we get into those guys, have any of you heard of white nose syndrome? Couple of you? Okay, for those of you who haven't heard of it, white nose syndrome is a fungus that grows on the faces of our hibernating bats. Its effects are very similar to poison ivy in humans, but it does not affect humans, pets, or livestock. It's just our bats. It causes them to wake up during that hibernation, use all their stored energy cleaning and scratching themselves. They then go searching for food, but sadly, since it's the dead of winter, they either freeze or starve to death. This fungus has about a 90% mortality rate. We used to have a few hundred bats staying with us each year, but we're lucky to get maybe 10 or 20 a season now. So on our way out, I'm going to have us step on a mat. I call it our bat mat. I'm going to spray with a solution of 10% bleach, 90% water. That's just in case we picked up any of that fungus on our shoes. We want to be able to clean it off before it spreads to any other caverns. Do our part to help our bat friends. On a lighter note though, up above you guys here, we have our bat formation. Feel free to take a step away from that wall and squeeze in tighter on this side if you want a better look at it. But you can see its head in the middle, kind of like a fist with its wings coming out on each side. This formation is known as flowstone. That's what occurs when the water flows off these rocks. It deposits all those minerals, creating these awesome natural formations. Also on that light fixture up above, I have one of my many resident cave spiders. So if you don't like spiders, don't look up with us. Feel free to squeeze a little tighter in the back if you want to check them out too. For right here, we have our lockjaw orb weaver. You can see where he gets his name from that orb-like web it weaves. But none of our spiders are venomous or poisonous, so we don't really have to worry about them. They're just a little spooky looking sometimes. But that's our lockjaw orb weaver. Alright, we're going to keep on heading right this way. Y'all watch your shoulders on the right for me. Alright. So this area right here is exactly what it looks like. This is known as our deserters campfire. Before I continue, I want to make sure this path stays open so this group can squeeze on down past us. But as I was saying, this is known as our deserters campfire. It got that name because back during the American Civil War, we had a few soldiers from both sides who decided they didn't want to fight anymore. So they came down here to live together in harmony. They chose this room here because it is our largest and flattest room of our caverns. It was also once entirely sanded like it is in there, so it's a little bit drier than it is today. Well, when those soldiers came down here and lit that campfire, they didn't think of where all that smoke was going to go. It went through all these cracks and fissures in the ceiling above us, and people started to notice their mountain was smoking. A little concerning, so they called the police, who came down here and found our soldiers' hiding spot. We're not entirely sure what happened to them after that, since we don't have any records, but we do have a couple pieces of evidence they were once here. Along with this campfire right here, if you guys take a look at the ceiling in the middle of this room, you'll see all this gray stuff clinging on. This is actually all smoke damage that's been stuck up here for decades now. Just a little piece of evidence they were once here ages ago. Alright, I'm going to squeeze right past y'all here. Thank you, thank you. We're going to head up this little ramp. It's a little slick, so watch your step for me. You guys can come up right this way as well. Just fill up this whole area here. Come on up this way. I won't bite, I promise. There we go. Alright. So we just left our largest room of our caverns. We are now in our tallest room. This is known as our cathedral room, and it's about 23 feet tall. Something interesting about this room, though, is if you take a look up on the ceiling, you'll notice there's a lot of damage going on up here. A lot of these stalactites, those rocks that hold on tight, are kind of flat at the bottom, while the ones next to it have actually been broken off entirely. That's because back in 1940, we had a pretty large flood that wiped out a lot of our larger structures. That's why we have this man-made retaining wall built behind you guys, you might see throughout our tour today, along with the cement floor, just for a little more structure and support. But other than those two things, a couple stairs and gates, the lighting and plumbing, everything else in our caverns are completely natural. We're going to start heading right back down this ramp, so y'all keep on watching those steps for me. Y'all are going to stay in front of me on this ramp, but we're going to fill it up all the way so all our friends can see down the tunnel behind us. Alright. You guys can come on down this side as well. Right down this way. I just want to make sure I have a path that's down the middle for my smaller friends so they can see as well. Alrighty. Alright, y'all are good where you are up here. I'm just swapping sides. Alright. Now, a few years ago, I might have taken you guys down this dark section behind me. However, it is the smallest part of our caverns, at its narrowest being only about a foot wide. It's also a dead end down there, so not only can we not social distance, but it's really hard to avoid touching those formations. I'll still tell you about what's down here though. If you were to go around this bend, you would be standing on top of a graded bridge. Below this bridge is what's known as our bottomless pool. It's named that because back in 2005, we sent a couple divers down here to see how far it went. They could only fit about 60 feet before it was too tight of a squeeze for them to go any further. We also sent some workers down here with a weighted cable that was 250 feet. They ran out of cable before that hit the bottom. So this is known as our bottomless pool. It could be bottomless, it could be 251 feet. It's a lot more fun to say it's bottomless though, so we're going to go with that one. Semi-precious gemstone known as carnelian. I have some of that carnelian right up here. You'll notice it's transparent in color. It gives that nice orange glow from the iron oxide that's trapped in there, that rust. But these caverns are federally protected, like the majority of caverns in the U.S., meaning no one's allowed to come mine down here, keeping all these gemstones and formations looking nice and pretty. My taller friends, as you come through, just watch your head on this carnelian here. Come into this room so we can get out of that tunnel. It's a little claustrophobic the longer you're in there. So we'll keep on coming all the way up in this room. There we go. You'll notice it starts up almost at the top of our ceiling and it continues almost down to the ground there. But this formation is known as spilled milk. Not only does it look like someone spilled some milk all over our cavern wall, but this is also one of our largest calcite deposits in our caverns, meaning there's traces of calcium in here, that same mineral that makes up our milk. Alright, we'll keep on heading this way. Just watch those heads and shoulders for me. I kind of sneak up on you in here. Squeeze in tight and stay on that right hand wall here. Wow. Alright. A couple formations in here I wanted to go over. I'll be as descriptive as I can for my friends in the back, but we're going to start with this first one on our left. This is currently our largest stalactite in our caverns. We used to have ones 3 times its size, but they got wiped out in that 1940 flood I mentioned earlier. But this formation is known as our guess what rock, and that's because everyone who comes in here sees something different entirely. Just this week, I've heard a giant pickle, I've heard Squidward's nose, I've heard a giant booger, I've heard it all. You'll notice it has that nice green color to it though. That's because as the water is flowing through the mountain, it's picking up minerals, and that mineral being deposited here is known as copper. It actually continues to deposit down here on the floor as well. It's exactly the same as if we leave a penny out in the rain. It turns that green color, or how the Statue of Liberty is green now. Lastly, I wanted to point out right up here in the top middle how it's really rough and discolored. This is actually what happens when you touch our stones. All the salts and oils in your skin causes it to erode in such a way, turning this into dead limestone, meaning nothing's going to form on top of that anymore. One more formation here I wanted to show you is this one further down on our left. It starts almost up at our ceiling there and continues all the way down. This is our largest flowstone formation in our caverns. Again, it takes 125 years for each cubic inch of these formations to form. This is our largest, and it's believed to be over 5 centuries old. But it is known as Frozen Niagara, not only because it looks like a giant frozen waterfall, but also because sometimes it has about the same splash zone. So we might get a little drift on under here, if that's alright. We're going to be passing a group up ahead, so there's going to be a couple low bridges. Watch your heads and stay on the right side of me. We're going to head right this way. All of our caverns we're allowed to go into, just because it has the most support below us. This is known as our Gilkey room, and it was named after John Quincy Gilkey, who opened this cavern to the public back in 1937. This is also one of our smaller rooms, so maybe about a third or half of us are going to be able to see everything while I'm describing it. So once we get up here, I need us to squeeze in extra tight and be extra quiet so my friends in the back can at least hear us. We're going to head on up these stairs though. They're a little slick, so use that handrail if you need it. I said earlier, everything's going to be on your left-hand side as you come through. I'll still be as descriptive as I can, but we're going to start in the middle with our basics. Right here we have some of our stalactites. These guys hold on tight to the ceiling. Down on their right, we have their friends, the stalagmites. One day they'll grow up mighty. Whenever these two guys meet in the middle, such as further on the right here, they form what's known as a pillar or a column. You'll also notice all that ground beef-like texture on this table in front of you. This is known as cave coral. It's not like the coral in the ocean though, it's not alive. It forms as the water drops from those stalactites up above and causes these minerals, creating these awesome natural formations. Lastly, some more of those minerals. Follow those stalactites up and you'll see more of that gorgeous green copper. Go up a little further and you'll see this bluish stripe. That's a mixture of cobalt and zinc. Over on its right, you'll see that orange. That's our iron oxide, which gives that carnelian that nice orange glow. And lastly, down on that wall above that cave coral, you'll see this gray popcorn texture stuff. This is known as manganese. Alright, we're going to keep on heading this way. I'll walk slow so everyone has time to check stuff out. Just stay tight together with the group. I also have some stairs going down, a couple headache rocks, so watch both your head and your step for me. Once we clear those stairs, you're going to take a left around this corner, go up and file in this big room. You all see how much those steps for me. We can all take one more step to our right so we can all fit in. Perfect. Right. Perfect. So back when we had a lot of early cave explorers exploring caverns like these, they didn't have the nice things we have today, like these cement floors or these nice electricity. They often had to go through a bunch of really jagged rocks with ankle to waist high water, and they had to carry lanterns. They would have been similar to these, but they wouldn't be electric. They would be oil wick, meaning they only gave off about 5 feet of light in each direction, about half of what this gives off. I'm going to start by turning off these hallway lights so you can see what it looks like with just that lantern, so y'all just stay where you are for a moment while I grab these lights. If you guys want to take a glance down either hallway, you can see just how quickly that darkness takes over, leaving on nothing but that lantern. Let's say something would happen to that lantern though. It could be plunged into what's known as 100% absence of light, also known as total darkness, which is what I'm about to show you. Before I do though, I am going to need a little help from you guys. If you have any phones or watches with screens that glow, I'm going to ask you to turn those off for right now. Any little bit of light that seeps through is going to ruin that experience for us. I also want to make sure you guys are standing next to someone you know. I don't want anyone embarrassed when the lights come back on. So just make sure you're standing next to someone you know and you have your phones turned off for right now. They just so happen to remember that the current of this stream was flowing out of our mountain. So they did their best to follow that current until they finally made it out of here 2 whole days later. They had the beginning stages of starvation and hypothermia. They were treated for what we now know as PTSD. But ultimately that doesn't matter because their parents finished them off the second they got home. I'm going to turn off this lantern, but we're not in the dark and we're going to head on this way.
No puedes tocar nada.
Alright. So as we come into this section, you guys might notice there's no water dripping around you. That's because all these cracks and crevices in the ceiling above us have naturally been filled in with dust and dirt over time, so no more water can seep through. Something interesting about this section, though, is we have our one fossil in all of our caverns here. I know not all of us are going to be able to see, so I'll still be descriptive on where it is. But if you guys take a look on your right above this light fixture, you'll see that circular outline with that indentation in the center. This is actually a fossilized sand dollar. This fossil is further proof that our mountain was once part of the ocean floor eons ago. Again, you can only find this shady dolomite, this gray rock that makes up our mountain, at the bottom of the ocean. But our mountains are formed by taking that ocean rock and slowly pushing it up over centuries and eons up to where we are now. So y'all check out that fossil on your right as we head on down this way. I've got that section over right here, so you all watch those noggins. Watch those heads down on your left. Alright, we're gonna let these guys squeeze on in, so stay on your right hand side of me.
From here, we walk down the hill,
Earlier, I'm sure you guys noticed this really flat surface on our right. This is what's known as our bedrock table. It was actually once the original floor of our cavern. That water level came all the way up to that outer lip here. But you can see how it's slowly chipped away and eroded over all these centuries. It's actually going to continue to keep chipping away and keep eroding because this is still an active cavern with water flowing through it. Also, if any of you have been interested in what's on the inside of the stalactite, I have one that broke off in that 1940 flood right below you guys here. You'll see it comes in rings similar to a tree trunk or an onion. All these minerals just deposit one on top of each other. Alright, we're going to start heading right this way. I'll just stand on the right side of me. Watch those heads a little bit first, but they get much worse on your legs. Alright guys, well we are reaching the end of our tour. Does anyone have any last minute questions for me before we head back outside?
How high does the water level get in here?
It normally stays right around here. It depends honestly on how much it rains. If it rains really hard for a few days, after a couple days in here, that water level will rise up, usually about right where this concrete ends. Sometimes it'll go a little further and we'll use those stone tablets you saw at our entrance and kind of play hopscotch over the puddles. But if it gets much worse than that, we'll just close down for the day. Any other questions?
No.
No? Alright. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed your tour as much as I did. Just a reminder, when we get outside, we're going to stop at the top of that ramp so I can spray that mat and try and save our bats. Now follow me a little longer and keep on watching those heads while I'm out here.
Ok amigos, pues bueno, salimos de ahí de las cavernas y está padre, la verdad es que algo diferente que miramos. Pues bueno, fue algún ¿cómo se le llama? Un recorrido corto, pero bueno, valió la pena porque pues realmente hay veces que uno no conoce nada, uno está prácticamente se le podría decir que en pañales al hacer todo esto, porque pues hay mucha gente que le encanta todo esto de andar recorriendo lugares, de conocer y de así. Entonces bueno, pues nosotros pues venimos aquí a ver qué podríamos encontrar, qué podíamos ver. Entonces bueno, pues ya entramos a unas cavernas. Tal vez ya más adelante encontremos lo que venimos a hacer. La verdad es que venimos aquí a ver lo de... Vamos a ir a unas minas. Parece ser que en esas minas sí dejan buscar, dejan explorar un poquito más que aquí. Aquí no nos permitieron tocar nada, bueno, pues obviamente por obvias razones, ¿no? Porque finalmente esto es turístico y pues la gente viene a conocer un poquito de esto de las grutas y bueno, vamos a tratar de traducirles ahí un poquito lo que se entendió, pues, para que ustedes y nuestros amigos que nos miran desde México puedan entender un poquito más de lo que se miró ahí, ¿ok? Y bueno, pues aquí estamos en un riachuelo en esta área. Qué hermoso se mira, la verdad. ¿Qué te pareció, Fernando?
Está perrón.
¿Está padre, ¿verdad? Sí. Es lo que les digo aquí en el video, que hay cosas que a veces uno desconoce y lo que se esconde debajo de unas montañas, ¿cierto? Lo que podría crearse, porque pues realmente fue a base de agua, movimiento de las piedras, tal vez la misma gente que vivió.
La misma gente
la
que
misma
vivió
gente.
Desde quién sabe cuántos.
Sí.
Que tenía cientos de miles de años.
O sea, porque eso pues no fue creado nada más porque sí, ahí gente vivió y exploró y pues obviamente sabemos que hay muchas riquezas
hasta
ahí.
donde quisieron, no realmente sí, todo lo que hay.
Lo que hay.
No sabemos.
Sí, no sabemos porque había muchas zonas muy que no podías traspasar esa zona, pero sí, obviamente creemos que aquí sí, como se sabe, en muchos lugares ocultan demasiadas cosas. Pero bueno, pues logramos ver lo que nos permitieron ver. Imagínate, y muy padre.
Caballos locos. Vamos al baño, digo, vamos al río, vamos a la casa.
Pero pues bueno, aquí seguimos y seguimos con el video de Lolo's in the House. Y no olviden suscribirse, dejarnos su like y escuchar la campanita para que les notifique que hay video nuevo en Lolo's in the House. Y bueno, pues seguimos.
Mamá, ¿podemos seguir al spa? No. Por favor.
Preguntarán si hay deportes extremos, Isa.
Bolsas de arena.
Hola amigos de Lolo's in the House. Bueno, pues ahorita estamos en un descansito. Aquí está el hotelito. Este es el hotel, está muy muy padre. Esta es la vista que el hotel brinda. Son unas cabañitas. Está bonito, está coquetón. Entonces bueno, pues aquí es parte del hotel. La verdad sí, no sé, pero qué tranquilidad, ¿verdad? Y bueno, pues vamos a ver, ahorita vamos a comer. Vamos a hacer un stop para comer. Pero bueno, esto es lo que nos tocó hacer el día de hoy aquí en el canal de Lolo's in the House. Hoy vamos a disfrutar de nuestro descanso, vamos a disfrutar de nuestro día. Ya buscamos algo en lo de las minas, encontramos algunas piedras preciosas, hay cuarzos, amatistas, de todo tipo de piedras encontramos, jades. ¿Qué piedras encontraste tú? Esmeraldas. ¿Cuáles otras más había? Cuarzo, jade, esmeralda.
Cristal de montaña, no me acuerdo cómo se llama.
Pero habían varias cosas que realmente encontramos. Y miren, esta es la chulada de vista que hay en estas cabañas. Está muy padre, la verdad es que está padrísimo venir aquí. Y bueno, pues aquí es donde vamos a comer ahorita. Ahorita venimos aquí a comer. Y bueno, pues una vez más, gracias por la preferencia, gracias por estar aquí en Lolo's in the House. Y no olviden dejarnos su like y suscribirse y puchar esa campanita para que les notifique que hay nuevo video en Lolo's in the House. Bueno, pues aquí estamos. Qué hermosa vista, ¿right? Qué hermosa vista.
Ahí está. Él es chiquito, unos circles ahí también.
Bueno, pues terminamos nuestra travesía del día de hoy. Y bueno, pues es un día pues tranquilo. Realmente hubiéramos querido mostrarles más, pero pues obviamente tenemos que tener ¿cómo se dice? Yo creo que tenemos que prepararnos bien para poder hacer un recorrido bien, porque realmente las distancias son largas entre cada montaña y cada montaña. Nosotros, bueno, pues es aproximadamente de donde estábamos en las, ¿dónde se llama? Donde fuimos en Linville, las cavernas. En las cavernas, pues obviamente tenemos que bajar a la montaña del abuelo, del grandfather. Entonces, bueno, pues sí es una travesía entre 30, 40. Entonces tenemos 40 minutos. Tenemos que acomodar bien el tiempo para poder mostrarles bien. Y esa montaña del abuelo, miren que está muy, muy padre. Entonces, bueno, pues vamos a ver, vamos a tratar de hacer otro videito para tratar de mostrarles más ya más adelante, acomodarnos en otro viajecito. Ahora sí queremos a lo mejor rentar una cabaña, queremos pasar tiempo acá, porque aquí créanme que es para eso, para disfrutar la naturaleza, para olvidarte hasta de los teléfonos, si así lo quieren ver, porque realmente aquí sí se viene a disfrutar eso, a no estar tan pegada en el teléfono. A mí yo ahorita estoy mostrándoles, pero sí hay muchas atracciones aquí. La verdad es que sí las hay, solamente hay que visualizarlas bien y tener los tiempos y ajustar los tiempos para poder hacer cada una de las actividades. Pero bueno, pues ya me despido y bueno, espero que el video de la caverna de Linville, pues ojalá les guste, ojalá haya sido del agrado de ustedes. Fue un videíto ahí de las cavernas. Se mira muy padre, la verdad es que se mira muy padre, y espero que se haya captado muchas de las cosas que me hubiesen gustado que obviamente observaran más, pero bueno, estaba oscuro. Se trató de hacer lo mejor que se pudo. Entonces, bueno, pues ya me despido con esta imagen. Ya casi, ya son aquí las 8. Sí, ¿no? Ya son las 8:20 por ahí así. Y ojalá de verdad que nos sigan apoyando. Vamos creciendo poco a poco, vamos creciendo, pero bueno, esperamos en algún momento tener un poquito más de visualización. Esperamos tener un poquito más de alcance para otras personas. Entonces, bueno, pues esto es lo que queremos lograr con Lolo's in the House, tener un poquito más de visualización. Y bueno, pues con esta imagen nos despedimos. Ya vamos en camino a casa. Iremos llegando, yo creo que como a las 12 de la noche a la casa, más o menos, ¿no? Como a las 12, entonces nos espera un largo camino. Nos hubiéramos querido quedar, pero realmente no veníamos preparados. Y encontramos ahí una cabañita, pero pues no veníamos preparados. Y 75 la noche está bastante bien. Solamente que si todo es separado, el baño está afuera. Entonces, bueno, tenemos que acomodar nuestros tiempos.
Esperándote.
Entonces, bueno, pues tenemos que acomodar nuestros tiempos. Pero bueno, nos despedimos. Este fue un viajecito corto de Lolo's in the House. Fue nuestro desestrés de toda la semana de trabajo. Y bueno, pues nos despedimos. Y gracias por dejarnos un like. Gracias por suscribirse y por escuchar esa campanita que les notifica que hay nuevo video en Lolo's in the House. Nos vemos en un próximo video y disculpen los lives también, ya que la señal es muy mala acá en las montañas, pero bueno, les traté de grabar un poquito de lo que hicimos, ¿ok? Bueno, pues cuídense, les mando un fuerte abrazo y nos vemos pronto.